Now we come to an important subject in our lecture, which is the deep fascia. بعد ما أخذنا السكن superficial fascia وشفنا شنو ال structures that are present in the superficial fascia, we are reaching to the deep fascia of the neck. Here, the deep fascia of the neck is important because we have different layers that is formed by thickening of the deep fascia of the neck. The first layer that is called the investing layer. investing layer اللي هي الطبقة الخارجية اللي راح تحيطنا بالنيك. الطبقة الخارجية اللي راح نسميها investing layer. Deep fascia of the neck in general, in certain areas it is condensed to form a well-defined fibrous sheets. Fibrous sheets يعني اكو عندنا في الطبقة الخارجية راح نسميها investing layer، اكو عندنا في الطبقة الثانية راح تحيطنا بالcervical vertebra Prevertebral muscle اللي هي flexible extensor راح نسميها Prevertebral fascia. طبقة من الفاشيا راح تحيط لنا بالتراكيا والثايرويد جلاند نسميها Pretracheal fascia، وطبقات أخرى تحيط لنا بالبلاد فيزل راح نسميها carotid sheath. So one of the purposes of the deep fascia is to support the muscles, vessels and viscera of the neck. قاعد نشوف هنا this is a cross section، مقطع عرضي بالرقبة يراوينا اللايرز هذه اللي هي باللون الأحمر الخارجية اللي نسميها investing layer. investing layer it will surround the neck, the whole neck, and it will split into two layers to surround the sternocleidomastoid muscle and the trapezius muscle. This is the investing layer. Pretracheal layer also, this is a condensation thin sheet of deep fascia condensation. It will surround the thyroid, the larynx and trachea, and it's attached to the laryngeal cartilage. Prevertebral هذه هي باللون الأصفر. Prevertebral هي prevertebral from its name, it is related to the vertebra and the muscle surrounding the vertebra, so it is called prevertebral layer. وعندنا carotid sheath. Carotid sheath, this is a condensation from the nearby deep fascia to surround the common carotid, internal carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and the vagus nerve, and the cervical lymph nodes. All these are thickening of the deep fascia. قاعد نشوف مثلا عندنا هنا بوضوح هذه هي باللون الأصفر هي الانفستنج لاير، الطبقة الخارجية تحيط لنا بالستيرنوكليدوماستويد والترابيزيوس ماسل. هذه هي carotid sheath surrounding the internal jugular vein and the internal carotid artery, common carotid artery and internal carotid artery with the vagus nerve. وهذه هي pretracheal layer surrounding the thyroid gland, the trachea and esophagus. And this is the prevertebral layer surrounding the cervical vertebra with the vertebral muscles. This is a sagittal section. مثلا نشوف هنا انه investing layer how it is extending in between the mandible, it is attached to the hyoid bone and down to be attached to the sternum. This is the pretracheal layer how it is extending from the laryngeal cartilage يعني من غضاريف الحنجرة تحيط لنا بالثايرويد gland and descend down to the chest to the fibrous pericardium. اللي يهمنا هنا أيضا الواضح أنه ال prevertebral layer extending from the base of the skull down in front of the vertebra يعني راح تكون أمام cervical vertebra and descend down behind the pharynx. راح تكون behind the pharynx يعني خلف البلعوم. هذه هي prevertebral fascia. بوجود هاي thickenings of deep fascia راح تقسم لنا النيك إلى compartments. These are the compartments of the neck. We have the vertebral compartment contains the cervical vertebra and the associated postural muscle. The visceral compartment contains important gland اللي هو طبعا الثايرويد الباراثايرويد والثالاموس and parts of the respiratory and digestive tract that pass between the head and thorax. وأكو عندنا vascular compartment on both sides. Vascular compartment اللي هو contain major blood vessel اللي هي ال carotid artery و internal jugular vein وال vagus nerves. طبعا كل هذه ال compartment يحيطها اللي هو ال musculofacial collar اللي هو ال investing fascia. Our last part of our lecture is the cervical ligaments. We have the stylohyoid ligament. Stylohyoid ligament connects the styloid process of the skull to the lesser corn or horn of the hyoid bone. Stylomandibular ligament connects the styloid process to the angle of the mandible. Sphenomandibular ligament connects the spine of the sphenoid bone to the lingula of the mandible. And the pterygomandibular ligament connects the hamular process of the medial pterygoid plate to the posterior end of the myhyoid line. هاي الامتدادات اللي قاعد نشوفها الستايلوهايود ligament. This is the styloid process of the skull اللي هو النتوء الإبري. This is the stylohyoid. This is the process. This is the ligament. هذا هو stylohyoid ligament extending in between the styloid process to the lesser horn of the hyoid bone. Stylomandibular extending also from the styloid process to the angle of the mandible. Sphenomandibular from the spine of the sphenoid to the lingula of the mandible. And lastly, we have what we call the pterygomandibular ligament. Pterygomandibular ligament is from the pterygoid hamulus or hamular process of the medial pterygoid plate to the posterior end of the mylohyoid line of the mandible. طبعا هذا هو نفسه راح ينطينا هذا اللاين أو هذا الليجمنت راح ينطينا في the origin into two muscle. Anteriorly this is the buccinator and posteriorly this is the superior constrictor of the pharynx. So these are the cervical ligaments. مثل ما قلنا these are the stylohyoid ligament, stylomandibular ligament, sphenomandibular ligament and pterygomandibular ligament. Thank you.